we need to talk about Nikola Jokić. And I know what you're thinking. What's there left to say? We've called him a genius, a magician, a basketball savant. We've watched him completely redefine the center position, maybe the game of basketball itself. We've seen him win 2 MVP awards, we've seen him shatter every advanced analytic known to man, and most importantly, we saw him in 2023, hoist that Larry O'Brien trophy in the finals MVP, silencing every last critic who said his style of play couldn't win a championship. That ring was supposed to be the end of the debate. It was the final piece of the puzzle, the validation that elevated him from a statistical anomaly to a proven champion. For a moment there, his legacy felt secure, written in stone. But what if it wasn't? What if that championship wasn't the period at the end of the sentence, but just a comma? Because now, here we are, in the summer of 2025. The Denver Nuggets have not returned to the NBA Finals since that glorious run. They've had 2 more seasons, 2 more bites at the apple with their Serbian genius at the height of his powers, and they've come up short. And so, a new question, a more difficult and uncomfortable question, has started to bubble to the surface. It's a question that separates the legends from the icons, the Hall of Famers from the basketball gods. The question is no longer, is Nikola Jokić an all-time great? We know he is. The question now is, where, among the all-time greats, does he truly belong? His championship solved one debate, but his inability to get back to the top has opened another, and it's why, right now, Nikola Jokic's legacy is, once again, officially on the line. To even begin to have this conversation, we have to understand what we're talking about. There are levels to this. There are tiers to the pantheon of basketball immortality. In my mind, you have the very top, the rarefied air of Mount Olympus. That's the GOAT conversation, typically reserved for Michael Jordan and LeBron James. It's a tier defined by staggering statistical dominance, multiple championships, sustained, decade-long eras of winning, and a cultural impact that transcended the sport itself. Just below that, you have the pantheon. This is the inner circle, the top 10 or 12 players to ever live. Think of Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, who didn't just play basketball but were basketball in the 1980s. Think of Bill Russell, the ultimate winner with 11 rings. Think of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, with his MVPs and titles stretching across 2 decades. Think of Tim Duncan, the quiet anchor of a dynasty that was a threat to win a title for 15 straight years. Think of Shaquille O'Neal, the most physically dominant force we've ever seen, who led a team to a three-peat. Think of Kobe Bryant, the obsessive warrior. Think of Stephen Curry, the revolutionary who changed the geometry of the court. The common thread here isn't just talent, it's sustained winning. It's eras. It's multiple championships. Their names are synonymous with victory over a long period of time. And then you have another tier. The tier of the transcendent talents. These are some of the most skilled, revolutionary players we've ever seen. Guys like Hakeem Olajuwon, with his unguardable dream shake, who took advantage of Jordan's absence to win 2 incredible titles. You have Dirk Nowitzki, who authored one of the most iconic and difficult championship runs in history in 2011. You have Kevin Garnett, the heart and soul of the 2008 Celtics. These are inner circle Hall of Famers, legends of the game, but they are not typically in that top 10 pantheon conversation. They are defined by their singular, brilliant peak. And that is the crossroads where Nikola Jokić finds himself right now. The question for his legacy is no longer if he belongs in the Hall of Fame, that's a given. The question is, does his career trajectory point towards that pantheon level, or is he destined to be the greatest of the transcendent talents, a modern-day Hakeem or Dirk? And the answer to that question will be written in the next few seasons of his career. Now, let's make the case for why this entire conversation is premature. Let's make the argument that Jokic's place among the gods is already secure. You can start with the numbers, which are, frankly, ridiculous. We are talking about a player who consistently finishes seasons with the highest player efficiency rating, the highest value over replacement player, the highest box plus-minus. He didn't just climb the leaderboard of advanced analytics, he fundamentally broke them. The numbers say that with him on the floor, the Denver Nuggets play at a historic, championship level. They say he is one of the most impactful players to ever live. That's not opinion, it's statistical fact. But his genius goes so far beyond the spreadsheet. It's in the eye test. It's watching him grab a rebound, turn, and, without even looking, throw a full-court, one-handed dart that hits a streaking Kentavious Caldwell-Pope perfectly in stride for a layup. It's watching him in the post, where he moves with the grace of a dancer, using a symphony of pivots, fakes, and his signature somber shuffle to get a soft, high-arcing shot over players who are taller and more athletic. He plays the game at his own pace, a pace that seems to slow down time itself, allowing him to see plays develop 3 steps ahead of everyone else on the floor. He is a basketball artist, a central nervous system for an entire team, conducting a beautiful offense with a style we have never, ever seen before. The argument is that a player this unique, this revolutionary, this dominant, cannot be defined solely by the number of rings he has. His contribution to the game itself is his legacy. But this is the NBA. And in the cold, hard calculus of legacy, championships are the currency. And this is where the case against Jokić, the reason his legacy is on the line, truly begins. It's about that brutal standard set by the Pantheon. It's about sustained winning. Magic and Bird didn't just win once, they battled for the soul of the league for a decade. Tim Duncan didn't just win in 1999, he won again in 2003, 2005, 2007, and 2014. Steph Curry's Warriors created a dynasty that defined an entire era of basketball. They proved their formula for winning wasn't a one-time fluke, it was a sustainable model of excellence. Nikola Jokic's 2023 championship was masterful. But it is, as of right now, an isolated data point. It was one perfect season where everything went right. What happened in 2024? A second-round exit. What happened this past season in 2025? They were one of the best teams in the West, but they were outmaneuvered in the playoffs again, this time by a younger, more athletic team that exposed some of their flaws. To be in the Pantheon, you have to be the guy that everyone else is chasing for years. You have to be the final boss of the league. For the last 2 seasons, Jokić has been an incredible player, but the Nuggets have not been that final boss. This brings us to the more difficult parts of the conversation. The parts that feel like nitpicking a genius, but are necessary when the standard is this high. Let's talk about defense. Jokić is not a bad defender anymore. He has improved immensely. His positioning is brilliant, his hands are incredibly quick, and he's a phenomenal defensive rebounder. But can you name a single player in that top 10 pantheon who was a defensive negative in the playoffs? Jordan was a Defensive Player of the Year. Hakeem, Duncan, and Russell are 3 of the greatest defenders ever. Magic and Bird used their size and IQ. LeBron is a physical marvel. Even Steph Curry, long considered a weak link, became a smart and committed team defender. With Jokić, the blueprint to attack the Nuggets in a playoff series is clear: put him in the pick and roll, over and over again. Make him move his feet in space. It's a strategy that has worked to wear him down and get high-quality looks. Can a player be considered one of the 10 greatest ever if he is also the primary defensive target for the opposing team in the biggest moments? It's a fair question. And finally, there's the intangible, almost unquantifiable element. Let's call it the force of will. We see the ferocious, almost pathological need to win in Michael Jordan. We see the obsessive, Mamba mentality of Kobe Bryant. We see the fiery, trash-talking leadership of Larry Bird. Jokic's greatness is different. It's calmer, more cerebral, almost nonchalant. He seems to view basketball as a series of problems to be solved, not a war to be won. He is undoubtedly clutch, but his demeanor has led some to question if he possesses that same terrifying, all-consuming will to dominate that defined the others in the Pantheon. It's an unfair criticism in many ways, judging personality as much as play, but when the margins are this thin, when we're comparing legends to legends, these narratives matter. So, here is the state of Nikola Jokic's legacy in the summer of 2025. He is, without a single doubt, an inner circle Hall of Famer and one of the most unique talents to ever grace a basketball court. His peak, demonstrated by his 2023 title run, is as high as almost anyone. But his resume lacks the one thing that defines the absolute pinnacle of the sport: sustained, multi-championship dominance. His story is not yet complete. The path forward is brutally simple. He has to win again. Another championship, another trip to the finals, would change the entire conversation. It would prove that 2023 wasn't a beautiful anomaly but the standard for his era. It would silence the questions about his defense and his style. It would move him from the tier of Dirk and Hakeem and firmly into the pantheon with Shaq and Duncan. The pressure is now immense. He has the talent. He has the team. But the league is deeper and more talented than ever. His next few seasons will be the crucible that forges his final place in history. He is fighting not just for another trophy, but for his seat among the gods. And now I have to ask you. What do you think? Is one championship enough for a player this revolutionary to be considered in that top 10 tier? Or does he absolutely need another title to solidify his case? Forget what could happen, and tell me where his legacy stands for you right now. Let me know everything in the comments below.